We'll call this August 17 Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Pfeiffer, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First item, approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Pfeiffer to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we have the first reading, rezone ordinance 201.
Ordinance 201 filed by Linda Mosh to change the zoning on the following described properties from Chapter 4.06 Agriculture Preservation District to Chapter 4.07 Mini Ag District. Lot 1 and 2, Mosh subdivision in the northeast quarter of Section 25, Township 125 North, Range 63 West of the 5th PM, Brown County, South Dakota, 39393 122nd Street and 12207 394th Avenue.
Motion to approve. Second. We got a motion by Got a motion and a second by Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We got just a few minutes. Jeanette, you want to do
Sure.
over yours?
Okay. Approve last week's minutes of August 10, 2021.
Move. Second.
Got a motion by Piker, second by Sutton, approve the general meeting minutes of August 10th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims and payroll.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the claims and payroll. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Firework permit.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton to approve the fireworks permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Leases.
Move. Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Sutton to approve the leases. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Temporary malt beverage license.
Move.
Moved by Sutton, second by Weiss to approve the temporary malt beverage license. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's
Oh,
it.
you have, Jeanette?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the next thing we can move on to is we'll do the bid opening for wood waste grinding.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Mike. Morning, Mike.
We got one bid. Jeanette, do you need to read this or not?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Good. One bid from Dakota Wood out of Rosemount, Minnesota, at $650 per mill hour and $2,500 mobilization fee, which is the same as what it was previous year.
$650 an hour before. Is that the same company we've had
Yep.
last few years?
They actually just lost one of their grinders in a fire here over in Minnesota, but they'll be here, so.
Sounds great.
I guess.
Second.
We got a motion by Kipley, second by Pfeiffer. And as far as our product, do we have as much as we have in normally years, or is it about the same?
Oh, it's probably similar. We'll probably have 40 to 50 hours of grind time.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting the bid?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, we're about a half minute off.
Well, Mike's here real quick, I'll just update you. Elm Lake Association met on Saturday, and I ran up to that meeting, and they're gonna approach Harts one more time and just see if they can negotiate, otherwise they're gonna go door to door and try to find and divide out by the residents up there what the difference is. So if they can get the price lowered, so they have to collect less, great. They're kind of under the assumption that we'll pay the $500 towards keeping it there, and then whether they have to pay the full $2,000 and go collect $1,500 annually. I talked to Kathy if there's any way we can help them collect it, because that was their concern, and she said no, they're not eligible for any special assessments or anything, so they're gonna just have to figure that out, method out on their own, whether it's a mailing, so, still conversations going up there. Just wanted to give you a heads up.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to negotiate a little better deal maybe with them.
And one of the questions was to, you know, like Minot Lake and Richmond Lake. Well, Richmond, I think they do have a service provided to them by A1, I think it's around $16 a month per location, and then Mina, obviously, they can't bring, or they're not supposed to bring their stuff to our sites because they are in Edmonds County. You know, they don't pay anything to use our rural container sites, so, but they do pay around that $16 a month too for a service that picks it up right at their curb.
Once a week service, I assume?
Yep.
The big difference there is they're picking up specific garbage, more specific garbage in containers, whereas up at the
Or
Elm.
subscribers.
Right,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah, up at the Elm, you got North Dakota cars coming in there too.
Yeah. And one of the comments was too about, you know, litter and possibly wanting another container. Well, for the last 5 years, we've had at least an extra 20-yard container sitting there, and sometimes two. So to my knowledge, I've never heard of any issues as far as you know, volume and the cans being full.
That came up because they were talking about the times they've had to go in the field and pick up all the trash that blows out. So their other solution was getting the fence higher. So then I was like, I know that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
So then they were like, well, maybe another can, because they said right before you guys come pick it up that they are full, but I don't know that, so.
Yeah, no, I've
They were
been up
just
there
exploring options.
plenty, and there's, you know, to my knowledge, it's not been a non-issue. And as far as litter, there's only 3 cans there, you know, so it's not, there's not a ton of volume there. I mean, it's not a lot of people that use it, but,
But I don't think any of that really has to do with why the request for $2,000.
No.
Has nothing to do with it. It's a matter of some personal thing that's going on between the association and
yeah, so,
Hart.
we'll do what we can to make sure we can keep the site there and keep it clean, like we always do with all of our sites.
There was never a deadline of when they wanted that taken care of, or when the contract had to be renewed for the dollars. There's not a deadline
There
that they
really
gave us.
isn't, but I'm sure it's,
ASAP.
the contract date is probably up, but.
I had a call from Joel Durheim. He said that he thought there might be a possibility they might, Brad might settle for $1,000. And I don't know if that's...
Good.
So
Did
he
that
said
come
it's a
up?
meeting too, but he said he would talk to us. He didn't have
Like I
anything in
said,
writing.
we'll see, and as far as collecting that other 500, I guess we'll see how that.
But your
how that works
belief
out.
is that contract should be between the county and Hearts, no longer
Correct.
under the association?
Right.
So then you get that part.
So that needs to be changed too, once we move forward.
Everything working smooth down south? No
So
glitches?
far, so good. I've got locates called in, we'll be doing some demo work here in the next week or two, and pulling our signs and start moving forward with some more cleanup down there. Right now, the only problem we had was the guy wire coming down off the electrical post. People have driven over it like 3 or 4 times, and there was actually a car that got hung up on that wire. But the fire department had to pull them off, but, wow. Anyway, I don't know what else you could do. I said, send a dumpster in front of it, you know.
Didn't
Put
run
it-
into that.
Put a cone, just, you know, we've had people hit the dumpster. I don't know if I showed anybody that video, but
Seen it.
here, that was a few months ago, but those girls came flying in there and slammed into that dumpster.
Run right into it.
I don't know what else you could do, but anyway, it's in process.
Good.
It's pretty solid where we're at right now, so we're good, we're moved over.
Yep.
We'll keep going
Looks good.
and get it
Yeah.
cleaned up and
Really looks good.
signed.
The association give you any kind of date when they would probably try to get something put together as far as, you know, if our contract's expired? I mean, we can't let this thing drag on too long. I mean,
No.
is there a time frame that they thought they'd...
They didn't give themselves a time frame, but I can.
So is it up to them to go to the Hearts and ask about the negotiation? Are they gonna take care of that part?
Joel is going to.
Okay.
All right,
I guess-
well, we'll just wait in here, wait and see what happens here, and we'll,
Okay.
for right now, we got a site there, and it's gonna stay there until we hear
Yep.
different, so.
Yep, good.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
That's all I
Thank
got.
you, Mike.
All right.
Marty,
We are-
how it should-
We are working, picking up trash at the fair, that's our job too, so
We're taking care of that. We got back up with our computers on Friday. We had to reinstall a solid state drive, reinstall our backups, and for the most part, we were back up. We've still got 3 weeks of data to input, which takes a long time. But we are finally operable on the computer.
Good.
So, which is a big deal.
Yep.
For everybody.
Yep.
Anyway.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, we have the county burn ban. Good morning, Scott. Would you want to address anything at first, or where do we want to start with this? We've had some conversations about changing our burn ban the way we do it. I don't think anything is, we've got several, or probably 4 or 5 different examples of what other counties do. The commission hasn't had a chance to go through them thoroughly. But
I did, at your last request, to look at different options, I did start, looking at a permit. I got some notes taken from different agencies and stuff, and with Fair Week and all the other stuff going on, it's not done, I can tell you that. And then I see your email, Commissioner Kifley, and I haven't even looked at it really. I glanced at it, and so just need to find some time to, I don't have an issue doing any of those, just need to find some time to get them done, so.
But I think for the interim here, I think, couldn't we go ahead and take that burn ban off? Let these,
Give us time to work on the resolution.
aren't we green enough for the most part?
It
There's
depends,
parts,
the north side of the county is nice and green, we're still mowing lawns in Columbia. But you get to other places, and it's pretty dry, so, I don't think that I would be opposed to taking it off. One thing I would maybe request is if we could wait till after Fair Week. Our deputies are busy, if they gotta respond to something, dispatch is busy. Our firefighters are, trying to enjoy the fair. I don't know if that's an option, but that would be my only request, if we could wait till Monday or something and take it off.
Put it off another
See
week.
how it goes. I know there's some rain in the forecast towards the end of the week. Not that that's doing a whole lot of good anymore, but it does keep those heavy fuels a little damp.
we take the burn ban off today and somehow get the message out, and I guess, lack of a better way to put it, encourage them to make contact with the National Weather Service and get all that data before they even, they should be doing it irregardless. If the burn ban is, once it's off, regardless of whether we have an ordinance in place immediately or not, they should be encouraged to check with the National Weather Service and only burn when those conditions are such that the National Weather Service...
I completely agree, Commissioner, and we've got some folks that follow those guidelines, and we've got a handful of people that, just don't care. They just throw the match and go to the bar or whatever, and somebody else's problem after that.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion that we take the burn ban off, and
I think one of the things that I bring up, we've got hundreds of people cutting dry CRP, which is gonna cause a lot more fires than a controlled burn, because, this CRP is terribly dry, and we got guys out there, and so far, we've been very fortunate, but I think there's a much greater chance of having a fire with all these guys cutting this dry CRP than there is somebody doing a controlled burn.
And I certainly wouldn't disagree with that, Commissioner. Trains have been going through starting fires, we've had, cigarettes, you name it. But again, if people will just be responsible and create a fire break and watch the weather, we won't have any issues. But again, we always have that one person that's got a light, 6-foot round cottonwood that's gonna burn for 6 months, We got red flag warnings just to the west of us today, so that kind of stuff's moving in, and again, if people just be responsible, that's the name of the game, folks.
For discussion, I will second that motion, so we can keep discussing. I think we need a second for that to keep going.
I would agree with what Scott's saying. You're gonna have a rogue individual, they're few and far between. The CRP thing, with with what we implemented out in the mills, even the farmers or ranchers out there, when they cut their hay ground, got into the habit of looking at the fire danger for the day, and that actually dictated whether they were gonna cut hay or not. And a prime example is, you know, out there ranchers check their cattle with pickups, ATVs, motorcycles, whatnot. A rancher had actually saw the fire danger was in a very high category, took his horse. The shoe hit a piece of flint, the guy kept riding, smelled smoke, the horse started the fire. So I mean, here he took all the precautions thinking he was gonna do the right thing. You're always gonna have those ones that you can't, I mean, you can't control them, they're gonna happen. But the thing is, you know, maybe Scott has an engine that public education through your social media accounts or stuff like that to, you know, try to get that information out there to put that liability and the responsibility in the hands where it belongs. And if they screw up, you know,
Then they pay the fine.
there's two ordinances in there that deal with, I think it's $250 or $500 fine, and then you charge them the state rate for, you know, fire trucks to come. And the majority of homeowners or business insurance will pay for the fire truck to come visit one time.
And I know you stated last week, it took a couple of years to educate people on the
Yep.
hills, so
But
we know it's an education
It-
process for
it's a
everybody.
bigger population,
Yep,
little bigger county, smaller population, may not take
right.
as long. So, I think you doing the burn ban, taking the burn ban off today, if you were to implement any one of the ones that I brought to you, there wouldn't be a burn ban on until you reach that red flag or the fire weather watch, the very high or the extreme. So you're putting all the liability into that landowner, whether it's his burn barrel, campfire, tree stumps, or burning the slough.
Rather than just lift the burn ban, can we add to the motion, we'll lift the burn ban, and if a person or an entity wants a controlled burn, they have to abide by the rules already in place, so that it's clear cut and dried that we're lifting the burn ban, but if you wanna have a controlled burn, there's steps you have to go through to do that, just to remind everybody.
I think the ordinance is in place already. I mean, if we lift the burn ban, our normal ordinances will kick in.
Kick in, okay.
You know, the only dilemma that I see is most people are, you know, they call in, that's not an issue, and that kinda gets them, I'll say, on the hook, if they do have a control room for the liability stuff. So, you know, again, if we start getting in where people aren't calling in, then we need to send the sheriff out there and say, hey, folks, you know what's going on, but, I think our ordinances should still kick in.
Well, I think that again, to repeat what I said before, they need to be they need to connect with the National Weather Service irregardless. I mean, take the burn ban off, they need to be connecting, we need to do something with changing our ordinance to include that very thing.
Commissioner, our ordinances do say, you know, if you're gonna have a controlled burn, that you need to be watching the weather and keeping an eye, you know. But we can change it and add some, you know, things like that. We'll hit social media. I know the fire chiefs have a pamphlet out there that talk about watching the weather and stuff like that. We can resurrect that and get that on social media.
Absolutely.
That's specific for controlled burns and what you need to do, and,
Yeah, insufficient fire breaks a misdemeanor, and the escape of any burning shall be deemed prima facie evidence that the fire break was insufficient, so misdemeanor right there.
Okay.
One thing that might help later on to get that information, it's just dawned on me, is township supervisors. I mean, instead of doing a mass mailing or trying to get, it'd be real easy to just send the information to your township supervisor and say, here it is, get it to your people in your township.
yeah, we can definitely reach out to those folks.
There's a ton of way to flood that information quickly. The
That's
thing
the big thing.
transition into
Get
it
out
so
there.
that people aren't confused with, well, this is how you did it, this is how we're doing it, and this is how we're gonna do it, type thing. So, just my 2 cents on that as well.
Sure.
Well, I like Scott's point, I'd like to see it come off, but on Monday. We're gonna make it effective Monday.
And I don't know if that's gonna make a whole lot of difference, it's
Well, I don't
just,
think it's a bad
like I said,
thought,
I know
though.
our fire departments, you know, they're going to the fair, Kent is swamped with the fair, and other things going on over there. You know, if all of a sudden we get 60 phone calls to add into the rest of the stuff.
Well, I do some of the security stuff at the fair, you know, and we have somebody that, you know, runs off into a field, which we've had happen not too long ago, and things like that. You've got, you know, all of a sudden, things that are stretched a little bit, so I'm not opposed to that. But one thing I did notice in these samples here, and I appreciate them being, is the Fall River County, and that's the point of that. If you're gonna go with the weather service, Fall River starts at high, whereas everybody else goes very high and extreme. So that's the one question I had, is where do you wanna put the break point?
Right, where do we want to
For when is it up or down? And that's, you know, besides the point system, everybody else is pretty much going off the wind index and fire index, but Fall River counties includes high, whereas most of the rest of them are very high and extreme, so some conversation I thought about where that break point goes,
Very high and extreme seems to be the norm versus.
for the most part,
high,
but I
yeah.
did notice
Yep.
that one was
Right.
included
Keep
there.
keep in mind, the counties that I gave you have multiple fuel models
Right.
in them. So it's like your fuel model here, you're basically in that 1 hour, 10-hour fuel model that's gonna change overnight or rapidly. You know, when you get into 1,000-hour fuel models or a little lower,
Right.
it takes 1,000 hours to change that moisture content.
And that very well could be the Fall River County. I mean, they're a little bit more grass, I think, down there.
You literally need the snow to smother it.
Yeah.
Is a Monday or Sunday gonna fit into your contract that you gotta get this done?
Well, if it rains Thursday, it's probably gonna mess it up.
Well, it might, but we could live with it, I think. I mean, if we could just get it done this year sometime, they're already kind of bending over backwards to
Yeah.
make it work.
I mean, you've actually gone through the work and have a burn
I have
plan written.
it's a burn plan, it's a controlled burn with fire breaks, and it's all in place.
You got the brakes done and everything ready.
I have for 2 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if we do this next Monday, that won't screw up your plans or your?
Well, no, it's just if.
No more than we
if it
already
rains,
have.
I may not be able to get it done, but.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
But
no more than we
like
already
the last
have.
few days, you couldn't do it anyway.
Right.
We've got wind, the conditions aren't right, so.
And
it's
there's
gotta
supposed to be wind all week this week.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make a whole lot of difference. If we could just get it done this year, it would just be huge.
I didn't even haul hay the last 2 days because it was too windy.
Yeah, it's just.
So, do we wanna amend the motion to lift the burn ban
You
starting
consider
on
it a
the
friendly
23rd?
amendment. Do you wanna go
Yeah,
Sunday or do you wanna go Monday?
I don't think
it's gonna make a bit of difference other than the fact that, you know, think that we've probably got, Hollis has been after trying to get this thing done for all this time. Fine.
So which one do you want?
Do it Monday.
Monday.
Take it off
Okay,
Monday.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so we got a
Motion to lift the burn ban effective Monday.
Monday, the 23rd of August.
Right.
Second.
All in
I don't know if
favor?
to put any emphasis on the motion to work with the National Weather Service and to try to get that information out, get it in social media, get it out there so that people are serious about it.
Okay, we got a motion for the 23rd, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Burn ban will be lifted August 23rd.
And I will continue to work on getting something.
Well, I don't know, at this point, I don't know, have you started anything with permitting? Maybe we don't even need to go down that road if we're gonna change our ordinance,
Thank you.
Scott?
I just started gathering a little data. I got a couple pages, you know, just kinda some bullet points. That's about as far as I got, Commissioner.
I think that one of the other questions came up to this whole deal, is it a requirement the commission puts a burn ban on, or can we just localize and let it up to the people by changing our ordinance to say, hey, this is the way the ordinance is gonna be, the commission isn't gonna determine, and we're gonna let the weather and the National Weather Service determine that? That's all for discussion down, you know, the
Well, I
next...
think if we change our ordinance to go to, you know, the grassland fire index or something like that, you know, the only dilemma I don't wanna get into is people calling and saying, you know, can I burn today? You know, and all that kinda stuff, and either clogging up dispatch, because that's where they're gonna call, you know, because they gotta report their controlled burn, because they won't wanna go to the webpage, they'll just wanna call, you know, so, you know, can we link that to our county webpage? I'm sure, certainly we can, where, you know, you click on the county
Absolutely
webpage or
needs to be.
something,
Sure.
and it
Needs
pops
to
up
be.
there, those are things I'll have to check with Pat and see what it would take to do that, but I can't imagine
That'd
it's
just be
not.
an active link.
That's
Yeah.
what Paul suggested before the meeting started, that
Yeah.
would be.
I mean, try to make it as simple as possible and take some of
Yeah.
that pressure
Yep.
off your dispatch center.
Yeah.
And if
So I
most
think-
people are comfortable with using that as the trigger point, fine.
If that's what we wanna do, then I think we just need to amend our current ordinances to say, you know what, this
Offer on
will be
site
the
to that.
case, and if you don't follow the rules, then here's the consequences.
And I wanna thank you, Paul, for getting that information gathered.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I'd like to continue to help if need be.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like, I have no skin in the game, I just know that there's a little easier way of doing it than having to call an emergency meeting, and in reality, you're kinda giving the people a little power, you know, to make their own decisions, but
A little responsibility.
a little responsibility, you're not quite the dictatorship looking, and to me, it's a win-win. It makes Scott's job maybe, hopefully, down the road a little bit easier. I don't know. I mean, it worked great for us, but the thing is we use the teeth. I mean, if someone's fire gets out of hand in Custer County, you're getting a ticket and I'm billing you.
Yep.
I mean, that's just black and white.
Well, and that's what I think we'll have to look at our ordinances, you know, I mean, a $200 fine is peanuts, folks,
Yeah.
for most folks.
Well, and I think the
Maybe we
idea
need to
too
put a
is
little
to, you know,
teeth into it.
take the pressure, workload off of you a little too, I mean, you know.
Well, it doesn't appear to be quite as arbitrary.
Right.
You know, is the issue, and whether the National Weather Service, but they are professionals and they're taking a lot of factors into consideration. But none of that stuff's absolutely 100% perfect, and, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing 100%.
Yeah, and as we talked about, you know, what we have for rainfall at the airport doesn't mean anything about what they got at Elm Lake last night, so.
Well, I appreciate everybody's input, and I appreciate your time, Paul, and
Thank you.
thanks for everybody coming in, we'll work on it, but anyway, it's off.
Did we vote?
Yeah, we did. The 23rd is the date, and I guess,
Good.
I don't know if you want to start at 8 o'clock the 23rd, or,
Yep,
I guess,
that's when the day starts.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck,
you, Paul.
and thank you,
Good.
everybody.
Thanks for your patience.
Do you have, Scott, do you have the
Is
copy?
is that what this is doing?
I think it's everything you gave me.
Yeah, oh yeah, Custer, Bennington,
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of it's
yeah,
duplicated.
good.
So, and I've got it all on email, but I couldn't get to any of your guys' email, and when I called, they said it was down.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why we went old school.
and that's the thing, yep.
Well, that's good.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
Thanks, Al.
You bet.
Go on out and enjoy the fair.
Yeah.
Okay, that takes care of our agenda items. I believe we need a motion for an exec for contracts.
Still that provisional.
Oh,
Do we wanna deal with that, or wait?
I guess Kathy, did she say, Kathy?
Yeah,
Provisional, what do we want to spend some time, or
that's
whatever?
up to you guys, how you wanna do it. Today, we do need to authorize advertising and set the public hearing date. That's the task for today, but yeah, if you guys wanna discuss anything or had any ideas about 2022.
I guess the question is, are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion that we consider determining a dollar amount and adding that to some type of, fairgrounds improvement
Okay.
fund, so that we start the process of trying to raise some significant dollars for improvements. I know if you read some of the concerns that people have, and I know the Fair Board has mentioned that the last several years, that they would like to see a plan in place for future growth, future improvements. I know the restrooms outside the grandstand have always been, you know, a sore spot. They've needed upgrading for 20-some years, but I would like to pick a dollar amount, and quite honestly, I was thinking $250,000 to go into a fairgrounds improvement fund that we could gather over, I think it's either 5 to 7
Do
years.
you wanna do a capital outlay then?
We already have a fund, I think our
Yeah.
concessions goes in there.
Well, we're talking about a couple different items here, there's a couple choices. You can just set aside a certain amount of cash and assign it to fairgrounds every year, whatever amount you determine. Or you can make a resolution and do a capital outlay program, and you can say, we want to do $250 for 5 years, and you make that commitment with whatever your determined goal is. We can pick the amount of years and decide how much each year you want to commit. So there's 2 ways you can do it. One is more formal with the resolution process and the commitment. The other one, you can just kind of look at cash each year and decide what you want to assign. And if you assign it, it's still a motion from the board where those funds are going to be assigned to that particular project. So either way, the funds are set aside and not to be used by any other budget.
So,
I'd like to make it as simple as possible, I guess.
I think the assigned revenue is...
now, it seemed to me like we had,
One time we did.
we had 85,000 or something that we were gonna use on on drainage out at the
Yep.
fairgrounds. What
So the
happened?
concession revenue from Centennial Village sits in its own little assigned revenue pot, and that's, I think, what you're thinking of. And that money is available for fairground improvements. It just doesn't grow to the rate of like a new bathroom.
Right.
It grows
So-
by like $9,000, $10,000 a year.
So, should we roll that 85,000 over into like a capital outlay?
I would leave this in its own pot. It's got that agreement with Centennial Village.
Okay.
So it's not tied to Centennial in any way.
It's not tied to Centennial, but it follows that
Right.
contract. I would leave that where it is. If you wanted to have this extra pot, you sure could.
But we still could spend that 85,000 or a portion of the 85,000 on the fairgrounds.
Yeah, I
That
think
was
we talked
exactly what
about,
that was.
I think we have talked about doing some of that for like, improvement for like the buses, parking, things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So in order to simplify, we can't just have one capital outlay fund for
I guess
fair,
that's kinda
we've
what
gotta
I'm-
have 2, that's just...
Well,
Well, because the one is tied to Centennial
Any
Village,
of
and
the
that's how
fund-
it's
it's
funded.
funding
the
source.
funding
So it
source,
might be,
yeah.
might simplify things.
Why couldn't we take that money that's from Centennial Village and put it into a capital outlay? I mean, just to...
We can just add to that Centennial Village fund if you'd like.
I guess I hear what Dennis is saying, why do we need multiple funds if they're
Yep.
for the same
Well, we just
thing?
have these different revenue sources. They're
Well-
coming from different places, but we can sure combine it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like...
One fund would be simpler than two.
Yeah, if we're gonna,
Exactly.
and take that money from the, I mean, is
Well,
there an objection from, would there be an objection from the folks at Centennial Village
No.
if it went?
And the money's not restricted to Centennial Village, but we'll still be tracking the sources of this revenue.
Because
it
when we
says-
set it up 6 years ago, that original fund, the thought was that if we get the per keg fees and the other things associated with fair, not just Centennial Village would go into that. It was everything that we kind of got from concessions was going in there. So that's why I thought it wouldn't be a big deal.
That, if you're talking about that capital outlay that we stopped doing, that was separate from Centennial Village.
Capital outlay that we stopped
Is there any money in that?
No, we stopped it when we bought the IT building.
Okay.
I guess I just would like one fund that we can refer to and say, okay, this is what we all have in here.
Sure, we can
You know what I
certainly
mean?
create that.
Yeah.
And then, each budget session, you guys can decide if you want to add to it and what that amount would be.
I'm good with your 250 this year, but I don't think we can commit that. I
Oh.
mean, I'd like to ongoing, like you said, but that money might not be there next
No, I
year. Next
understand.
year might just be 50
And I
or
chose,
100.
right, and I chose 250 because, I mean, we've got a little extra revenue
Yep.
that we may not have in the future that we've never had before, and it'd be a good place to start and get at least a good jump start on the fund.
But I would agree too that we probably shouldn't tie ourselves down or put a resolution together that would,
No.
250,000 every year. Might be next year, or 2 years, 3 years down the road, there might only be 50,000 available to put in there. But you know,
Right.
at least we've got a fund started.
And I want it to be as simple as possible so that we can each year decide what's appropriate.
In addition, when the receipts come in, what we've tried to do too is if they make money on the fair, the difference between what was budgeted and once they met that, anything on top will also go in that fund. We've tried to.
Can we do that?
It doesn't have to be the exact money, but you know, through the general budget process.
Well,
Yeah, it does have to stay in the general fund though.
yeah, I mean, to me, it's just a paper deal. You
Yeah,
put it in the,
exactly.
you put that money in the general fund, and then the commissioners, in their budgeting process, pick out and put it over into a
Yeah, it
capital
all
outlay
stays in the
fund.
general fund,
Yep.
so you could just look at.
So
your
the amount
cash.
that goes to this fund could be determined by the commission each budget year,
Mhm.
is the way it should be worded.
And
Yeah,
then, in
yeah.
addition, when we consider that, if the budget for the fair is 1.1 million and we make 1.2 million, that extra $100,000 at what point can we designate that, what I would call profit,
Anytime
to
you'd
go
like.
into?
Yep, anytime
Okay.
you'd like, so if you wanted to visit
So that
that
fund
in
could grow
like,
using those monies?
October of each year after the fair and everything's accounted for, yeah, you could definitely have that conversation,
Okay, okay.
for sure.
I wanna make sure we had that flexibility.
Now, this won't necessarily be in your provisional, like, budget spreadsheet. We're just gonna make a motion to assign revenue, and it will just be like a internal worksheet. It's not gonna be like on this report until it's time to actually spend the funds, then it will go expended to a budget,
And we can let that grow for 5 years or 7 years?
unlimited.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
whenever you guys wanna spend it.
Okay.
Or if there's an emergency at the county and
Sure.
you would need to use it for another source other than the fair, by
Right.
motion of the board, you could reassign it for, that purpose.
But at least on the surface, it's designated for fairgrounds improvement. That's
Mhm.
the intent.
Yeah.
Obligated but not
Yep.
expended, is what it
Exactly.
amounts to.
So, I have other questions on budget stuff, so is
Mhm.
this one done? Or do we need a motion?
I would make that motion that we set aside, or whatever you want to designate, 250,000 to go into Fairgrounds Improvement Fund.
Okay.
So does that include then that money that's been accumulated from the Centennial Village, or is
Well,
that?
I think what I'm suggesting or recommending is we take that and put it into whatever Fairgrounds Improvement Fund we already have.
Yeah, we can get you guys totals
Yeah,
annually of
yeah.
the total amount assigned for fairgrounds improvement.
So have it go into one, designated one fund, whatever we have in place now.
I mean, honestly, this is all just tracked on a spreadsheet.
Sure.
It's not overly complicated by any means.
Okay.
This comes off the surplus cash then.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Sutton, a second by Piker, to authorize $250,000 to the fairgrounds improvement, for
We're
the
gonna call it-
2022
No, we're not
budget.
gonna do capital outlay.
Okay.
That's just option you had.
For the 2022, budget.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, my question stemmed from state's attorney. Did we leave a new employee in there, and are we doing that?
I made that adjustment and took out 60.
Okay, so they're current staff as is.
Yep.
Okay. And then did we keep the $1.50 increase for all of the correctional officers? I think we have
In the
that.
provisional, yes.
Okay. And I apologize, I have misplaced my cheat sheet. Did we,
So the 60,000 did come out of the state's attorney.
In the provisional, yes. I mean, we can always put it back, but I just kind of went by our prior budget work
What we
session.
talked
notes.
about,
Okay, okay.
what did we bump, what are the libraries at?
They were out 1,000, and then, the Irene was at 12,000.
12, we kept it at?
Libraries
We kept
on
it 12.
32B.
Did we lower it?
Well, the discussion was lowering it to 6. So the
right.
provisional reflects the 6,000.
Okay, I'm good with that. If you guys are.
The one thing, the provisional budget, where was it? I didn't increase, planning and zoning in the provisional budget, I missed that one.
Did or did not?
I did not, but I need to make that correction. So that'll be a motion from the board, unless I can make it today and just change the publication, I guess, before we publish it. You guys are okay with that? I missed that increase.
What did we do for Mental Health Center, Northeast?
Before we
Mental Health?
move to them, what did we decide on zoning then? You need a motion, was it a half-time or a full-time we're putting down there? What
We
did we talk
just
about?
increased salaries and wages a smidge for the board members.
Oh, board members only?
Yeah,
Okay, 'cause
yeah,
I know there
so-
was some discussion on another person, and I didn't, but I think that was a regular meeting this year now.
Yeah, that wasn't
Okay.
at the budget meeting.
I would make the motion.
I guess we don't need a motion if you guys
Okay.
are okay if I change it before we publish it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll be.
We're going from
slightly
40 to 50 a meeting, right?
different. Yeah, so
Okay.
right now, they're at like $146,286 for salaries and wages, and we're just gonna round up to 147. That's just a couple $100.
I'm good with that. Okay, sorry, Dwayne, go ahead.
No, I know Dennis earlier had asked about Northeastern Mental Health.
What number
And
is
they're
that?
30.
Thank you.
They requested 50. Our current year, we're at 37,080, which I don't know how we ended up with a weird amount like that, but anyway.
Based off population.
I think we took it times the number, yeah.
Something, okay, so anyway, their request is 50, just learn what we wanna do.
Yeah, what did we do there, I guess? Did we leave it at 50?
I can't remember us discussing it, but that's why I thought I'd bring it up.
Nothing was made. In the years past, you've always, reduced it, so I just followed that pattern for the provisional spreadsheet. So the provisional budget does show $37,080.
Okay.
But if you wanted to put it back to 50, that's totally your choice. I just kind of followed in line what you had done for other similar.
Pretty much forever been the history of us just going based on population with that number to come from.
So if it's based on population, will it go up now that the census shows that our population is increased? I'm just asking.
That's up to us.
Let's just do a flat 40.
Let's do a flat 40, exactly.
Allows for the adjustment of the population increase,
Yeah.
okay?
That was
Real
just-
scientific like.
Yeah.
Well, I did that in my head, that's right.
I believe it.
Give or take.
The computer's back up and running now.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can hear the wheels turning over there. Mental illness board, 30,000.
So the Grove Library, we decided to, instead of 14, we did go with the 6,000, because they've got their complete adjustment over there. And then the Aberdeen Library, we're going down to 6 instead of the 12. Did I understand that right?
So we put in here.
Yeah. So have you, are these out to the respective, does the Aberdeen Library know that that's what the number is at this point?
Well, probably will Thursday. No, this is all just, internal at this point. We won't adopt the budget till September. Yeah.
Because I can't believe that we won't see somebody.
You might be surprised.
Salaries, what did we put for, auditor, treasurer, register deeds? Did we up those?
In the provisional budget, for most of our administrative departments, I just put what they had requested. I did put the in-code clause back in, for 2022 as well.
Wage studies in?
Wage studies in, I just put everything in as it was since nothing was firmed. You do have the option to adopt your budget and address some of these other issues too, closer to the end of the year. That's always an option you have as well.
Did we not talk about doing the cloud conversion in 2021?
But the, maintenance fee for 2022.
Oh, okay.
We had already put that
Okay.
in our budget.
Okay,
So we talked about cutting it, but I put it back for provisional, so.
okay.
Erica, I think in that wage study, isn't it included that they would go in and do our steps for us, redo our steps for us?
Correct.
Give us a couple options.
Because I'm not super excited about a wage study for the bare fact that I don't think we can consistently give them what maybe it's the wage study would say, but I think the value in being able to redo those steps would be real helpful. And do they look at job descriptions too and kind of revamp those for us?
Yes, they would interview roughly 50% of the employees and do a general job description off that. So they don't need to interview every CO, they would take a certain percentage of the COs and look at their job descriptions, and then the auditor's office and the treasurer's, and they go through all of them.
And it costs about 30?
37.
37.
Yep, and that was prior, that was 20...
Before, so it might have went up.
Yes, I believe 2020 when I got that quote, so it may have gone up. I have not done a recent one.
And we have not made the decision whether or not we're gonna do that job study, have we?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We could put it in there and then decide later not to if things tighten up. Just because we
See, my
budget for it.
suggestion was earlier to take 2,000 or 2,500 or whatever out of each budget. Yeah, and maybe that isn't fair either, because some of the salaries, like
Bare
the...
bones versus
Yeah,
little
treasurer's office
When
and,
you take them out of there, you just gotta put them back in.
you know, just, some of
Come out of
them
the same
are,
place.
the budgets are 90%, 95% salaries, whereas you take the highway budget, I mean, that's only maybe, what, 5 or 6% of the budget is salaries, and so I don't know if that's a fair way to do it either. How do you pay for that job study? I guess that's my question. Whose budget would it come out of?
Say the commissions.
Out of the commission?
Where is it right now?
I have it in mind.
Yours?
Okay. Commissioner IT would be a logical place, I would think. Or not IT, but HR.
Maybe we leave it in there, but at the end of the year, we see how much money is coming back from the different departments and pay for it new year, and then we'll be able to, take it. back out, or you'd have extra to move somewhere else.
Or split it between commission and HR might be a good way to do it, about 20
They're all
grand each.
general fund departments, so
Yeah,
it's
so-
kind of,
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
6 of one, half dozen of the other, don't
Yeah.
make much difference, really.
So the question right now is, do we keep it in there in HR, do we move it, or take it out and pay with money at the end of the year?
Let's just leave it in HR, I think.
Okay.
Then we'll make a decision whether we're gonna do it or not, and how
Right.
sustainable it's gonna be, or...
Will you make a note on your Outlook calendar at New Year's though, to remind us of it, and then we can make a decision looking at the numbers at the end of the year, whether to go forward?
Between now and then, we can get a current price quote.
Yeah, do you want me to, yeah?
Yeah, so we
When
don't...
would you want it to start then? Because usually they start it right at the beginning of the year and it's completed by April.
I think that would be the way to do it, as long as we're budgeting for 2022, if we decide to do it. Let's get it done so we have the information sooner than later. That way we'll have it in plenty of time for the 2023 budget process,
Okay,
know where we're at.
okay. Because I'll have to quote that, I'll have to kind of RFP that.
Yep.
Tell them this is what I want and go from there with it. So I'll
We
make
get a
sure we have the
placeholder.
steps and the job descriptions and
Where's this company out of?
this, I didn't bring my notes with me.
No, no problem.
It's the same one that the city has used in the past, and then, I believe it was the city of Sioux Falls, Pennington County, Minnehaha County, Lincoln County. There's quite a few in South Dakota that have used it.
Okay.
But I have to get the other two quotes also.
Okay, thanks.
we did have a bit of surplus cash, so I did move highway up to 10 million. So the provisional budget will reflect them at a 10 million budget. He
Good.
asked for around 9.5, so.
Good. Money well spent.
Doug had asked, and I wasn't sure, on number 50, Communication Council, the recommendation that was sent down from them.
1.5 million?
That was including both the percentage increase and $2 an hour? Was it?
$1.50 or $2, I can't remember what.
It was $2 an hour for Sarah and Kent, plus the percentage increase past 4/1. Just FYI. So county will pay $450,000, city will pay that, and then the balance will come from 911 fees and the surplus that's been sitting there for that.
Any unspent funds stay within the fund.
I voted no because I don't think they should give both the $2 an hour and the percentage. I said if you want a bigger raise, just take the $2, but to me, it's kind of silly to give both when we have other people that aren't.
So did the 2% go after the $2 went on, or
Good
before?
question. We didn't talk about that. And the
Pre-tax or post-tax?
Right,
My other-
exactly.
My other issue with it is sustainability, because we're, I think it was $1 million, or how much do we have left in that extra fund that we're taking out to make this balance?
Was it like 900 and some thousand? wasn't it?
Yeah, roughly, yeah. And
So-
that comes from that CARES Act.
Yeah.
That's always only just there.
So eventually, we're gonna have to dig deeper into our county one instead of the $450 to make up for it, because we're taking significant amount from this little slush fund we have.
Basically, out of the 1.5 million, 1.2 comes from the state, the city, and the county. So that means we're roughly short 337,000 each year is gonna come out of that fund. If we continue down that 450,000 range, because that's about what the state calls come into, what we receive off them is 400 and some thousand. 411, 436, I can't remember the number.
Well, what determines, can't that 450,000 that both the city and the county are putting in, what determines?
That's a decision we made, and what that's determined off is it's similar to what the state is given for the 911 calls. We get so much for every call. And their number is what, 436?
So how the contract works is, Kent submits his budget, say 1.5 million. We subtract off what our reoccurring revenues would be from the state, any interest, any other revenues that the fund would receive. And then whatever's left over is just divided in half, county, city. So they take a look at what is an appropriate budget, what are our reoccurring revenues, and then the gap between reoccurring revenues and budget requests is split with city, county, and possibility of using surplus cash to reduce that as well.
So 3 years is what we would have at 900,000 if we're taking over 300,000 a year of sustainability, and then that 450 is gonna have to jump to 600,000 for each entity to make up for that 300,000.
That's my point here. Where, how do you get that 450,000 to 600,000? Otherwise, the money would have to come out of the general fund to make up the difference.
Correct.
Which is
And-
where the 450 comes from now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is the general fund operating transfer.
Right.
What did we decide on sheriff's office first? We got, information from chief deputy on wages. Did we up sheriff then, or did we, what did we do there?
Number 18.
I know that information came later.
The publication is presented as the sheet was presented by the sheriff, and matches exactly.
So that is the original request.
Yeah, that's what's, in the publication.
And I show that we lowered radios from 9,500 to 7,000.
Radios.
Is what I wrote in my notes.
Yeah, I get the same thing.
Oh, I guess I missed that one. So you want that to be 7,000?
That's what I have in my notes. Does anybody else have that?
I do too.
Yeah, we lowered radios from 9,500 to 7,000.
Well, I think
But I had a note there, increased revenue to comp for it. I don't know what that was for.
Grant.
Increase
I got written down 7,000 should be under the grant.
I wrote grant question mark beside
Maybe there
mine
was
too,
a grant
so I
coming in
don't
for the
know.
radios.
I don't think that was a part of this conversation.
I just wrote down 7,000 and grant question mark, so I don't remember the conversation though.
Well,
If it's grant funding, we can address it with a, budget supplement at that time.
Okay.
And we'll just leave it at 95.
Oh, okay.
And then the grant revenue, that's an auto budget supplement. we
Okay,
do.
all right. Just going by my notes.
I think that was the point, and that 7,000 of that 9,500 would be all under grant. I think that's what Lunsford told us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the next page, we have to increase the items substantially to your equipment and to repeaters and plus recovered additional switch.
So is, 2019, the email we got after this was all given to us from Lunsman said sheriff's salary was 74,600. Did we determine that does include the extra 13,000 he gets for overseeing communication council, or no? Is it truly 74, or is it that plus?
It's that plus the 13. I think there's a sheet here somewhere.
I have the 2021 salary schedule here, we'll see what it
That's what I'm trying to dig up here too.
And then whatever the sheriff says, 85% of his is for chief, right?
Lunsford, yeah. Sure. 3,471.
74 plus the 13,
So
so 87.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
87, 671.
So the, 87, 671, is that what you said?
Yep.
Yep. That's the 74,671 salary plus the 13 communication oversight.
I was trying to read in the notes, but what did they bump it to here? Did they just? So it looks like when it was 74, we were 13th ranked in the state for highest salary for a sheriff. But when we add in the 13 to get to the 87, that bumps us to 7th. But I didn't see what they were recommending for that. Did you guys? Did they want to go 90?
I don't see anything in the notes indicating, unless it was something
Well,
we
it
received
says,
afterwards.
In closing, it says, the potential new generated income items from the jail and 24/7 programs have enabled us to include increases from any of the department's employees' wages, as well as bringing the sheriff and chief deputy wages up to a more current and comparable level with other county department head salaries. These increases should be more than covered by the new income generated by the jail at little to no cost to the county. But I don't see what those are. Okay, so regarding, this was an email from London, regarding the numbers listed above, Mark's salary listed as 87,151 includes the stipend for overseeing dispatch at 500 per pay period. This would put Mark's salary at 74,151 in 2019 seeking this. So really it is the 87, but it doesn't say what they're proposing it goes up to.
I don't think they put a number in there, it was just that number, Mark is 13th, is that right?
Now we're 7th.
So
If you add the 13, he's 7th. Currently. Because 8 was at,
Okay. So did Dave know that he was leaving that out, or?
Is this something we'll need to add to the budget, or is it already in the 2022 budget?
I would
That's
hope and
what we're
expect-
trying to determine
I
here.
would hope and expect that they put it in there, and what he was doing was sending that as supporting evidence for it.
That's how I interpret this as well.
what I would like to know though is how much is it? Is it a $3,000, so is it 90? Is it a 13,000, so we're at 100,000? I mean,
Did we get a breakdown?
with that many employees, it's just always hard to know unless they tell you, because it could be.
And I don't see anything in there.
I guess they did
supporting
send those
those.
salary spreadsheets out.
And I have those on email here, but it doesn't say.
I don't know if that's just staff or,
What the specific budgeted amount is. We can approve the budget, that doesn't mean we're gonna approve it.
it's probably hard to look at on your phone.
That's something we can follow up on.
Yep, exactly.
And they have the 3 cars in there, right?
3 vehicles, yep. Got it there. Sounds like they may be pickups, but.
If you guys keep going, I'll ask them quick what it is. You probably know.
And when we look at our budget timeline, we will have a hearing September 7th, and we'll be having to adopt it by September 28th. So it can be on the agenda every Tuesday in September as well, for you guys to revisit some of these conversations.
Hey Dave, I got a quick question for you. So we're going over our last minute budget stuff. Is there something in your guys' sheriff budget then for the increase for you and Mark? And what does Mark go up to with that? Cause he was at like 74 before. And then the 13 from communication, which I know doesn't go in this line item, but at 74, what did you bump him up to in this piece of it without that communication? Mirrored pass? Okay, so whatever pass is what Mark's would be. Okay. Gotcha. All right, that helps me out. Thanks a lot. Well, yep, bye-bye. What does Pat make?
85,850.
85. That's what Dave put for sheriff.
That's what's in there.
And then Dave's would be 90% of that. Is what's in this budget now. So at 85.
So as a base, plus the 13.
Plus 13 on that.
So it'd be
that-
98.
I could play where that was put in. According to his numbers he emailed. So what is that total?
98
98,000.
with the 13. Ballpark, there's some change there, but
That'd put him number 3.
coincide with our license plate.
Oh, wait,
Perfect.
Lincoln upped theirs by 18,000 last year, so wait, that would put him. Brookings up theirs big time too. With Communication Council, he's 5th. Minnehaha pays their sheriff $143,000. Pennington pays theirs $126,000, if these numbers are right. Then Lincoln comes in at 3rd at $108,000. Brookings pays theirs $102,000, and then Mark would be 5th at 98. And then it drops right after that down to 93. Coddington's at 90,000, Lawrence is at 92,000, Davison is at 75,000, Beetle is at 77,000.
Well, that sounds like that gets us closer to probably where we should be based on some of the other big counties.
And then we should look at our other electeds if that's what we're gonna do, because they're
Yep.
gonna be below those.
So what did we add into the budget? Because this year they're 56,600 according to the salary schedule. Do you know what you added in for yours, Kathy?
Yeah, I did the
5?
same research as the sheriff and chief deputy had done to put auditor at 4th, because we're 4th and 5, just as sheriff and chief deputy are. So I did move it to 80,000 to be in line with those counties at their 2019 wage, is what I was going off of, because that's what I got from South Dakota Association of County Commissioners.
So you went from 56,600 currently to 80.
Yep, to be in line with the same analysis, yep.
And do you know if Roberta and Patty did the same without booking?
That would be a discussion with them for what they felt was appropriate for their
Okay.
job.
I haven't looked through the breakdown.
If we guess I didn't even look at Ernest then, because he didn't say anything about it. He would be the final elected, right? Coroner doesn't say.
If we compromised on 70 for the 3 elected offices, what would that put us, do you know?
I do not know.
80 was 4th? Did you say?
In 2019, an $80,000 salary, based on that schedule, would put you around 4th in the state,
Okay.
if you take out finance offices.
Okay.
And by that same analysis, registered deeds and treasurer are within 5% of auditor, from the 2019 association study,
Yeah.
statewide, so.
And we've got all 3 of ours exactly the same.
So even statewide, when you look at it, they're roughly the same. The gaps are getting a little bit bigger in the bigger counties, but we work as a good team here, so.
Between the auditor and the other 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
just bump all our elected, either 8 or 10,000.
Are you meaning like state's attorney, sheriff, and the administrative ones?
The only ones we don't have comparison, I don't know.
I don't know that you can compare the sheriff's department with auditor and treasurer. 24/7 program's a whole different 8 to 5.
What they did is compared, like what Chief Deputy did is compared his sheriff's wage to the other sheriff
Right.
in South Dakota. And what we did was compare, like, the administrative officials' wages to the other administrative officials in the state, using the same analysis to come to the different wages. Now, I'm not asking for, you know, the 100,000 or whatever the sheriff's asking for. It'll be significantly less, even still less than the IT director, but it's still the same analysis and comparison amongst what other officials doing the same job in the state are compensated. But Rachel's way too makes sense as well, just, everyone just gets it equivalent bump up and then everybody.
But they tend to stage it for multiple years.
And you could look at the 2022 wage study as well.
Or just use round numbers, add 10 to the auditor, treasurer, registered deeds, and state's attorney.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
You just include that at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just include it, we'll treat this as like another budget.
Did anybody see Ernest is not in here?
Right,
What was
that's the one
his?
question.
Yeah, 96, yeah, his is 96.9. So bring him up to 106, if we use the flat 10.
Because we've treated state's attorney's office different than we have the other elected for the last
We
several years.
bumped him where we have it the
Right.
others.
And we've pretty well given them what they requested in that office, so I'm not sure you throw them in
So
with
maybe
that.
state's
Maybe,
attorney
maybe
take out
just the 3, auditor, treasurer, register of deeds.
and sheriff.
Well, we're already doing
Right down at the end.
We've kind of already discussed the sheriff, at least as far as what they included, so.
Essentially, what you're saying is amend the request from those 3 electeds to 10 more than what they have now.
Well, and if you look at the numbers, the 74 versus the 85, basically, he's getting the 10. He's getting 11, but
Right.
if you use their recommendation.
Right.
And I'll visit with them, their request might have included that number.
I think it did. When we had all 3 in here, theirs was, it was between 7 and 10.
So I'll visit if they
You got the
can,
right numbers.
I can visit with them if they can absorb it before we publish the budget.
Hey, Roberta, Rachel, say, in your budget, how much of an increase did you give yourself? 10,000, that's what we were kind of thinking. Do you know offhand, is that what Patty has in her budget too? Okay, thank you. All right, bye.
She already built 10 into hers?
Yep.
Okay.
So my motion would be 10,000 for the 3 and the sheriff.
I'll second that.
And then we can, when we get that wage study back, we can tweak it as needed.
So we have a motion by Kipley, a second by Biker, to increase the 4 departments, sheriff, auditor, treasurer, and deeds, to $10,000 annually.
Need that motion?
Thank you.
Phyllis?
I don't really think so. I think the provisional budget won't change, but we could keep it as a motion, then it's locked in, right? No, just kidding.
I think for this discussion, the consensus, that's probably what we need. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a formal motion, but
Do you want to withdraw your motion?
No, let's take it.
Okay.
Put it in the record.
So we have the motion and the second by Biker to increase the 4 departments by $10,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain only for concurrence.
Motion carries.
Sorry, I
Okay.
just don't think the motion's necessary.
All right, what else we got?
I think we pretty much had everything else.
I think so too.
I think we're ready.
All right, I make a motion to approve the provisional budget.
Second.
With the mindset we can have hearings and change later.
We have a motion by Kempley, a second by Weiss to approve the provisional budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that takes care of the
That was it.
agenda items now. Now I would entertain a motion to go into exec for
So moved.
contracts.
Second.
Motion by Sutton, second by Weiss to go into exec for contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in exec. We are out of exec, no action as a result. I got a message from Kathy, a reminder of commissioners to attend the virtual meeting for the new rural address infrastructure fund, Monday, August 23rd,
Access.
Access.
August
Not
23rd,
address.
at what time?
10:30 a.m.
There was an
Microsoft Team invite or computer or set up in commission chambers. I guess I don't quite understand what, my little, I have a little hard
Do you
time
want
reading
an
already.
invite, or do you want to set it up in the commission chambers?
Rural address.
That's what I would have.
Access.
Access.
That's small.
Yeah,
structure,
infrastructure.
yeah.
Infrastructure
What
legislation.
time on the
that's
23rd?
passed.
It goes into a lot
And
more
August
detail
23rd
than
at
we need
10:30
to
a.m.
know. Dirk and Kelly.
That's Monday, the
Do you guys want that set up in here?
23rd.
Monday.
It's more that you want it set up. in
No,
here,
she's
but
gonna
not-
set up and people will be attending.
Yeah, I won't.
Otherwise you can watch from home, but.
That's both options.
I would say, let's just do it virtual, huh? Just gonna do it the virtual?
Well, you're likely gonna be on it, so if you've got a
Yeah, I'll be on
anybody
it, so
wants
we
to
can turn
attend,
around
can
the
just sit in
chambers
here.
for anyone who wants to attend in person here.
And that's at 10 o'clock?
10:30.
10:30.
Okay.
Are we up to date on registrations for the convention, or are you handling that, or are we doing it individually, or?
No, we are not up to date on registrations, so
I believe you mentioned you're not gonna be able to go?
I'm not gonna be there.
you're not going.
No.
Is everybody else going?
No.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay,
No,
so,
I
let me
am.
jot that down
If,
here.
if you can take care of that, that would be appreciated.
And who wants to go golf? Starts at 2 o'clock.
On Sunday.
$40, your cart, green fee, and whatever.
I'll bring the water hose and the snare the gophers that come out of the hole.
I don't think they have enough sand to fix the divots I create.
You wanna attempt to golf?
It'd be a real attempt is what it would be.
Are you sending in it for everybody then, Kathy?
I'll send it in for you guys.
Okay, I'm gonna try to golf too.
Thank you.
Oh, we want,
Dirk-
and you wanna golf?
I think on the bottom it asked who wants to golf. They were looking to try to get more people to come do that. Dirk said he would also golf, and I think I just heard Doug say he's gonna golf.
Just give me one club, that's all I'll need.
That's all you need. I'll bring
I won't know the
I
difference
think
from the
you'll
rest.
figure he would get. Are you gonna come at 2 and try?
I suppose I could
It's
probably try.
best ball, so you just gotta get one good person on your team.
Scramble.
I'll have Derek register himself, he likes to do that.
I should just go along just to watch.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, I'll
Kathy,
assure
will
you.
come.
You could live stream it.
Okay.
No golf.
I've got some grandkids that are really, really good. I got a granddaughter that did the state tournament. She got 110-yard hole-in-one,
Wow.
300 and some feet, 16 years old.
Do we have anything else coming before the commission this Tuesday morning?
I have a question for Ernest, how the proposals for our jail project are progressing?
Yesterday, Dave and myself called 3 of them. We have one more tomorrow that we're gonna talk to.
when we're asking everybody the same questions, we're just trying to boil it down to make sure that it's apples to apples.
Yep.
The wording on some of their proposals raised a couple questions to make sure everybody's talking about the same thing and doing the same thing.
Perfect, thank you.
So we've got one more left to talk to.
Okay.
Hey. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Thanks.
Got a motion by Sutton, a second by Weiss to adjourn, all in favor?